Hey guys, this is an Empirical Ones review of the Barbour Commander Jacket.
Barbour is a very old brand coming out of South Shields, England, by a guy named John Barbour in 1894. So over 122 years, tons of history with this jacket. What I want to get into is this jacket is at the price point of about $400, if not more, depending upon where you buy it. So get some popcorn, kick back. This is going to be a pretty in-depth review of the jacket. We're going to be talking about everything from the leather collar down to the elbow pads, the inner lining, even waxing, as I've experienced some interesting things over time of use with it. Hopefully after everything we've spoken about, you might have a better idea of whether you want to drop that much money on this jacket or not. Without further ado, here we go.
A little bit of history on this jacket. It was debuted for the James Bond movie, the Skyfall, way back in 2012, 4 years ago. What I like about it is kind of what it brings to the table in terms of a timeless jacket. I mean, I'm for one where something that I purchase, especially something that is of this quality, I kind of like stuff to last and be timeless, and maybe you can pass it to my kids later on. So that's what Barbour's known for, and that was the attraction that I had to the jacket initially. I've had the jacket for just over a year, maybe about a year and a half. Since then, I've worn it down to the point where the wax had begun to come off. And so what's interesting is I reapplied the wax, and the term is called proofing or dressing your jacket. And so what that really basically means is you're reapplying the wax, the factory finish that came with the jacket when you first get it. And so here it is after a year. What's interesting to note is that the sheen is kind of worn down just a little bit, but I really like that finish. I don't like it when it's too wet, too shiny, and that's what you get when you first purchase a jacket because it's so waxed. One thing to note that you won't see in many jackets is this neck guard here, and it's triangular shaped. On one side it's the cotton finish, and on the other side is the leather finish. And we'll have snapshots so you can see what that looks like. But you'll notice that, and you'll also notice the clip here. And so it's not really a clip, it's more of a button strap, but you can apply this when you're not using the neck guard. A little bit of note, I've been using the jacket for over a year, and I really don't use this neck guard very much, but I love the way it looks and I love the accent it gives. What I do sometimes is I just take it off, and I actually flip it the other way because I like the texture. And the funny thing is the buttons are arranged in triangular format, so you can actually apply it this way or that way. But I usually have it hanging off one end, just because I don't want to lose it and I don't have anywhere else to put it, so I just kind of clip it off to the side and use it that way. One thing to note is the jacket itself. If you look at the label, Department B, and obviously size medium, and here's the authenticity label. The Department B label also shows up at the bottom left pocket flap here. Alright, so let's take a look at these pockets for a second. You'll notice that within each pocket, the lining is always consistent as inside the jacket itself. And what's under here, you'll notice, are these breathe holes. And these breathe holes go all the way through. And you'll want to note that this isn't consistent with the armpit breathe hole. You'll notice that the armpit breathe holes actually don't go all the way through. There's a lining. And I'll touch on that for. So you'll notice that this arm, that there's an elbow pad here. And you don't see it here, but what's interesting is the elbow pad goes all the way down to the leather cap here. And this isn't normal of a normal jacket. I actually have this arm, or both arms, shortened. And so I'm going to show you what it normally looks like out of the factory. So here we have a navy blue jacket, which was different from the olive green that I started out with, but it's got the factory elbow pad here, which ends
Maybe it's about half an inch from the arm cap here, but you'll notice that it ends there. If you ever have it reduced, they're not going to maintain that for the most part, even if you go to a high-end store. And I've also noticed, I've called them actually and asked about this, but for the most part you're going to lose that. I quibble over it for a bit, but honestly it really doesn't make an impact. So for me it was a little long. For others I'm not sure, but I have short arms, I guess. So what's interesting to note here is that these zippers, what's really nice about these zippers is they're really high quality. When you grab them, the handles actually taper up so that your finger gets caught, so it's really nice. But what you notice is as I open them, they go all the way through. Personally, I don't use this for hunting, and it really is a hunting jacket, but rumor is you're supposed to be able to put rabbit or some sort of animal you've caught here. What do I put? I live in the city. I actually put a scarf back here. It's a very convenient place to stow away things of that nature. So that's what I use it for. Down here it looks maybe like there's a bungee cord, but not really. There's a seam just to kind of finish off the bottom here. You'll notice that the bottom is completely flat. There's no curvature. Between the bottom and up to the pits here, it really doesn't taper off too much. I mean, you get a little bit of a curvature to get that tight, snug feel. All right, so let's talk about the shoulder pads for a second. They're pretty much symmetrical in terms of the back and the front, so they come down about the same level as they do the front. You'll see that on here. They slightly hang down just a little bit on here, but you'll notice also that there's a different color in the shoulder pads as opposed to the rest of the jacket. Okay, and then so here's the olive green with the shoulder pad. Here is the navy blue with the shoulder pad. It has more of kind of a matte look and a matte feel to it. I'm not sure if they use a different material, but here you can tell that it's a little bit more matte. There's a little more sheen here than there is here, and it's a nice touch. So let's compare the two in terms of the interiors for just a moment between the different colors. All right, so you'll notice that this is a navy blue jacket on the outside. The inside here, this pattern here is known as a tartan, and you could get pretty extravagant on the tartan in terms of customizations, from what I hear. But out of the box, they come with this blue and kind of cream tartan for the navy blue, and you'll notice that in the pockets as well, but not in the arm sleeves, which you'll notice here has a lining. Okay, notice here that the sleeve cap here goes all the way around, and then it meets this lining, which isn't consistent with the tartan lining that you see throughout the rest of the jacket. It's just a normal, almost like a polyester lining here. It's very interesting to note that it's not as breathable as you would think, and so sometimes I really question the purpose of the vents in the armpit. Oftentimes you'll notice that when you take off the jacket, it's as if you feel a little cooler, and that's because I think your body gives off some sort of amount of moisture, and all of it's sort of being kept in the jacket. If I were to say my biggest pet peeve about the jacket, it would be that I noticed that when you're in cold weather, your body, your skin gives off moisture, and so it's kind of trapped in here. It doesn't breathe as well as it should. That's one of the disclaimers of a wax jacket. And so if you ever take it off, you're going to feel a coolness because that water, that moisture that you've been developing within the jacket is going to give off into the cold air. And so I typically, when I start wearing the jacket and it's cold, I typically don't really take it off for that reason. I just don't like. So I want to put a little disclaimer about this jacket. It is a cotton wax jacket. Let me remind you, it's a cotton wax jacket. It's not Gore-Tex. And big difference between the two is, this is a waterproof jacket, just like Gore-Tex, but it is a wax jacket. So the difference between Gore-Tex and a wax jacket is that this is a cotton wax jacket. That means there's cotton and there's wax. Gore-Tex is a proprietary material that is created, and so in how it's created, Gore-Tex allows breathability. This jacket with a wax sealant does not. So if you tend to sweat a lot, which I do, there is a certain amount of moisture that you feel kind of in this armpit area. Okay, so I'm not one for branding on my clothes, but I kind of like how they've done it here. So you notice here on the pocket flap, lower left-hand corner, you'll see Barbour and Department B. That is the model of this jacket. But everywhere else on the internet, it'll be known as the Commander Jacket. So if you're searching, that's one thing to note. What you'll also want to note is the buttons. Every button has the Barbour name, bears the Barbour name on it. You'll have, I think, a couple different sizes. This is the biggest button on the jacket. It's just a little less than an inch. Then we'll move to the buttons closer to the neck here. This is the smallest button at maybe just half an inch. And then up on the collar here, you'll notice that it's just a little bigger, so somewhere between half an inch to an inch. Then also notice the zipper back here also bears the Barbour name. And it has a real purpose to it. I mean, it's providing some tactile, tactile surface here, so you get some friction when you're grabbing onto the zipper. But you might think that there's a hinge here, but not really, which, in some zippers there are. I like the fact that it's stiff all the way through because you get a really good bite into the zipper itself. So also you want to notice the flaps, the zipper seals that they've made here. This is not made out of any material that is different from the rest of the jacket. It's still a cotton wax. So if you're dressing or waxing or proofing this jacket, you want to make sure you get that wax really good into the stitching, and also kind of the inside. Just make sure you capture everything well. And you'll notice that they do a good job of sealing the main zipper head here. And if you want, you can kind of just hide it all in there. So what I love about this jacket is the storage that comes with it. It's hard to find a jacket of this nature with so much storage, but this almost looks like it's a fake jacket. I mean, a fake pocket, but it definitely is a real pocket. You'll see that there's no lining here, but if you just move down a little bit, that lining's maintained. So you'll see the tartar down there as well. Really deep pocket. It goes about, let me see, my hole, maybe 3/4 of my hand. So we're talking about maybe a 6-inch deep pocket there. So what I like about this jacket is kind of the stylistic aspects of it. You'll notice that unlike normal jackets where both sides of the jacket come straight down, this kind of parts ways, kind of like a sports jacket. You can wear this pretty slim, and it really has that nice kind of sports jacket look. I really appreciated what they've done with that part. And so it's meant to be worn as a jacket, but it's you can also think of it as a sports jacket, but a more rugged sports jacket. Take a look at the tartan here as opposed to the navy blue jacket. It's a different tartan, so just be aware of that if you're purchasing this jacket. Notice on the navy blue jacket that
The tartan is different, as we mentioned before. It's got that blue and cream. Other than that, it's very much identical to the green jacket, the olive green jacket. What I want you also to note is this is different. This is Barbour care instructions for the jacket. Normally you find that in a shirt or a jacket. It's kind of like in the side and this obscure little flap. It looks like a receipt or something hanging out the side of your jacket. But this is right here, and I think they do this because there is specific there are specific things that that you want to adhere to. And up top here is, do not wash with soap, detergent, solvents, or hot water. Do not dry clean. Do not machine wash. Do not store with wet garment in a confined area. All this to me means that I don't have to do much for it in the way of keeping it clean. That's one of the pros that I love so much about it. It is, since I've gotten it till now, it really keeps its own smell, its own feel. It really doesn't get dirty in the way that you would think. I mean, all these instructions are for, your normal clothing, your cotton t-shirts, things like that, where you dirty them and you throw them in the washer. I want to say that in viewing this in a more kind of positive way, that I don't really have to care for my jacket as much. And I love the fact that the more beat up it looks, the more kind of timeless, the more kind of vintage it looks over time. So moving on to the pockets, particularly the interior pockets. There are two, one on each side of the jacket, and pretty much identical. You'll notice that there is a kind of hook here to, or a loop here to fit the pocket in, the pocket button in, but I don't really use it. And I think they realize that because they've kind of tucked it under this felt flap here. But it's about the same depth as the outside pocket, the outside breast pocket, and so pretty deep, pretty nice utility factor here of this jacket. Let's talk about the wool kind of lining here that you see. Notice that wool has a decently rough feel to it. Both sides of it, on either side of it, it's pretty smooth. I think it helps to provide kind of an extra added seal. When you're flapping the jacket together and closing it, it kind of creates that contact point between your jacket and whatever you're wearing under, and creates kind of a better seal. So notice here that the wool runs all the way up to the collar here. I was worried that you might feel the wool and it might kind of irritate your neck a little bit, but I've never had that bother me, which is a really interesting thing about I guess how it's made. But I really like that aspect. You'll notice that the wool doesn't run equidistant to the end of the jacket. It kind of rainbows around and then tapers off towards the bottom. So this is a really nice touch by Barbour. They've chosen to go with the premium leather for the collar. You'll notice people call, leather, they'll note it with like they'll say it's genuine leather, or you'll see 100% genuine leather, but I haven't seen that anywhere here. But what I can say is that there's unbelievable texture with this leather. You could tell it's a kind of leather that is much more high quality than your more smoother leathers. And so when you're looking for leather in a product, you wanna find that texture and that grain. So if you look here, you can see that there's considerable texture on the leather collar itself. Feels great to the touch around the neck. Doesn't feel cold in cold weather as you might think. It looks right now like it's wet and might feel cold, but don't let that fool you. It really takes on your body temperature really quickly. Good quality leather. You'll notice that unlike other leathers
it looks like this leather was kind of the leather that was on the top of the animal, kind of epidermis. I'm not sure what kind of animal this came from, but that's kind of that kind of denotes, you know, good quality leather. So they've done a great job here. And don't let the texture fool you. When you put this jacket on and it wraps and it folds down, it doesn't look beat up. So that's one of the cool things I like about it. The jacket really can run in two different modes. I mean, it's designed very fashionably to really work like a blazer. So the collar can be down. You'll see the notice. You'll notice the difference as opposed to the last look we had. We had the collar popped, and you know, you never really got to show the leather, but that's really nice. Obviously, you cannot wear it with the neck guard. It just doesn't make sense, and so that would have to go somewhere. But I've never really worn it this way, to be honest with you. What I've also noticed is sometimes you'll wear it, and there's a little bit more flap on this side, so it kind of hangs unevenly a little bit. But that's just what I found. I'm going to show you a little bit what it looks like with it popped, and you know, it doesn't look half bad. What's also interesting is the collar isn't like one of those high, deep collars. So when you wear it up like this, it doesn't look like you're kind of overdoing it. You know, it doesn't run very high up your neck, so it doesn't look like you're trying too difficult here. But it does a great job of looking good both ways. So these are the neck guards. They are one side leather, as you can tell, and one side cotton. One thing that I haven't really spoken to, and it's pretty consistent throughout the jacket, is these button holes. It has to be that they've kind of intentionally left it kind of scruffy, kind of, you know, purposefully leaving these extra threads just hanging out. I've noticed it in both, and at first I didn't like it, and I thought I could just wax it and kind of like stick the threads to the lining, but they kind of flap out, and over time I guess I've just gotten used to that, and it's kind of added to the look and appeal. So this is all that comes with the jacket when you purchase it. So this is one of the booklets that comes with the jacket. It's the Menswear Lifestyle Collection 2014, spring and summer. But you know, just extra products. And here we have the care and services. So this kind of outlines, you know, how do you care for it, and if you want to send it off to have it re-proofed, re-waxed, you can do that. There are instructions here. There should be addresses in here as well, and so it's in a few different languages, so that's really neat. Alright, here's the Barbour brand itself. You'll see, I believe these are crests. I mean, they have 3 crests for this brand. You'll notice here within is a little bit of history about the Barbour brand. You notice it was started in 1894. Like I said before, that was about 122 years ago. So, long-standing brand. Oh, you can see here that the Department B beacon is the technical name for the jacket, and you'll see here at 385 pounds. But like I said, if you're looking for this jacket, you want to search for Commander, Barbour Commander. You might see a little more than you might see Department B. For some reason, that's just how it's noted. This is the pin that comes with the jacket. Let me take it out here. It comes in this Ziploc bag, but it's your you know, your standard pin. Yeah, press release, and you know, at first I was like thinking maybe I could put this somewhere on the jacket, maybe the interior pocket. Just didn't want to lose it. It seemed like a really cool, neat thing, but I just realized it was ridiculous to keep it on the jacket, so I I just stow it away. Maybe I'll put on a hat or something else later. So here's the actual wax. Unfortunately, it doesn't come with the jacket. It's about $20 if you buy it here. You can also send the jacket to be waxed to one of the distribution centers, but it's a little more in price, so I chose to do it myself, and I actually enjoy that kind of stuff. But you'll notice that it comes with instructions right at the top here. My advice to you would be to YouTube some of the instructions and just see it done. We're going to also offer a video on doing this, so you can use that too as a reference. The Barbour jacket is one of those jackets that you can pass down from generation to generation. Honestly, that's what I love about it the most, in addition to just how it looks. And so hope you take this review for what it's worth. If it helps, great. If it doesn't, let us know what we can do better. We'll see you next time.